What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. In this week's video, I'm gonna get to interview Mariana once again from the Mexico Relocation Guide. She's got some stories to tell us. She's gonna share with us all her updates. She's a great resource to have. That's why I thought, you know what? I have to bring her back on the show. I have to interview her again. And actually, since we did chat about 10 months ago, she's gone from, which is incredible, 3,000 subscribers on YouTube to almost 30 today. Let's help Mariana reach 30,000 subscribers this week. But anyway, welcome back, Mariana. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
I am so flattered that you asked me to come back. Thank you so much, Rich. And I can't tell your audience enough how amazing you are. You're the kind of content you put out, the walkthroughs of your house. They're so awesome. I mean, I think you are so awesome. So
That's very kind. So Mariana, we have so much to talk about in this podcast. Let's begin. Let's begin with if people aren't familiar with Mariana, can you give us a little bit of an insight into what is your main focus when it comes to the business? What's your main focus when it comes to helping people relocate to Mexico? Like step one, when they contact you, I mean, you have so many resources when it comes to the online guide, when it comes to the tours, the personalized tours you do of all these different areas in Mexico. I mean, can you begin us with the baby steps of stage one? Someone contacts you, you have a chat with them. How does that go? And then how do you advise to say, go ahead, I really recommend getting the online guide? Or can you give us a little bit of an insight in how you approach it?
yeah, absolutely. So our site, mexicorelocationguide.com, has, if somebody is just woke up this morning and started thinking like, well, I'd like to maybe eventually retire, or maybe I'd like to eventually retire sooner, or, I'm really thinking of what the next chapter in my life is, and I want to leave maybe, Canada or the United States or maybe Europe, wherever you are in Europe. Um, and you've heard the buzzword that maybe Mexico is a very, very popular country with a lot of people looking to make a change of lifestyle, right? And you don't know really where to get started. We have a lot of free resources that walk you through, is Mexico the right country for you, right? Some of the things that maybe, people don't talk about, they sugarcoat, or maybe they put it through a rose glass lens. So we tell you the realities of what it's like to live in Mexico, and why you may love it and why you may not like it, right? Because that way you can really decide for yourself, like, is this worth me researching further? And then if it is, we give you a lot of other resources, like, what is a residency visa like? How do you know if you qualify? How to know what process or what steps you need to take to know if you qualify, how to bring your car, or whether you should even bring a car, how to get your household goods here, how to get your pets here. A lot of different resources. What is the cost of living? What can you expect rentals to go for? What are the questions you should be asking when you look for a rental? So a lot of those resources are 100% free. And then for somebody who is a little bit more serious about moving to Mexico, maybe you've already researched it a lot, but you're still finding a lot of really conflicting information online, which I'll get to that soon. But when somebody's really already like, all right, I'm ready to, take this one step further, we have a complete online course that gives you detailed steps for every process, and it's very easy to follow because, even if you know a little bit of basic Spanish legalities and Spanish legal jargon is a completely different ballgame. So we make it really easy for you to understand. We interpret it in an easier way for you to digest, and then we obviously post it in English. So we give you detailed steps on a lot of things like residency visas, how do rentals work, how does the home buying process work, how does the selling process work, what to, why you should bring your things or maybe leave them behind, all those kinds of things. And then because we know Mexican bureaucracy is very hard to navigate, not only for foreigners, by the way, Mexican locals hate Mexican bureaucracy too.
I can justify to that. I've done some legal things recently with Mexican lawyers, and it's a very different ball game out there, guys. I have to say, compared to doing things in England, I've never done anything in the US or Canada, but I have to say, compared to England, it's very different, and you need a lot of patience when dealing with the authorities here in Mexico.
Yeah, it is. And it's unfortunate, right, that it's kind of archaic and a little bit old school. And because we know it's hard to navigate, we also give you a complete directory of contacts that, I have researched, we have vetted, we have done a lot of looking into to save you the time of having to research these contacts. And it's a single source of information. So in that directory, you get people like Realtors. Rich obviously is a highly, highly reputable realtor in the Lake Chapala area, and he's one of our recommendations, for example. And we have immigration facilitators that we recommend. We have private drivers that we can get you in touch with. If you don't feel comfortable driving yourself to Mexico, but you want to bring your pets, for example, we have drivers we can connect you with. International moving companies, so many different kinds of contacts across Mexico, by the way, not only in Lake Chapala, that will help you make your move to Mexico a lot easier. And then for people who are kind of in that process already of scouting different areas, maybe you don't know where you want to live, maybe you like Ajijic, but maybe you also like Cholula, or maybe you also like, Valle de Bravo or Cuernavaca or something like that, and you want to check out these different areas, we also give you a directory of private relocation tour guides across Mexico that are locals to that area that have no interest in selling you anything. So you hire them, they take you around, they show you around, and they give you like the true local idea of what it's like to live there. Plus, they
The
answer a
local
lot of
feel.
questions.
Let me ask
Yeah.
Mariana, how many locations do you have on your guide right now? I'm curious.
We have probably over 30 different cities
Yeah,
that we cover. Now
that's
we have,
incredible.
yeah, we have different contacts for each city. So some cities have like a full suite of contacts, right? Some cities we may just only have immigration facilitators and relocation tour guides. But obviously, the cities that people really want to live in and the ones that we get asked about the most, we have a full extensive directory in.
Let me ask, with the online guide, can you share the price of it so we have it from the get go?
Yeah, yeah. In 2023, it's currently 495 US dollars. It's a one-time fee. You get lifetime access. And I mentioned the lifetime access and the one-time fee because sometimes we do price increases. Like in 2022, I increased the cost, and the people who bought it previously at a lower amount, they never paid more than they ever paid initially. So if you buy it at 495, that gets locked in. You never pay an upgrade. You never have to pay more, regardless of how much more information I add in there, regardless if we ever do a price increase. So it's a one-time fee. To get access to any of our recommended contacts or our directory, essentially, you do have to be a member of the online guide first.
I mean, since we last spoke, Marianne, I mean, I'm sure there's been some changes to the online guide. I'm sure there's been lots and lots of updates. Can you walk us through that, the things that have changed since we last spoke about 10 months ago?
Yeah, yeah, so much so that it'd be hard to tell you all the things that have changed. The biggest significant changes that most of our customers really find value in our online guide for are residency changes. So whenever there's a residency change, and that is something that you can hardly ever find online. Not only income requirement changes, but just little changes in what consulates are asking for that they never post on their websites. So people are finding out the hard way by sometimes they travel from another state and they get there only to find out that, oh, they needed their marriage certificate apostilled and it's nowhere
Mm,
to be found on the Mexican consulate's website. So we give them a lot of that information when we find out about it. And another thing that I'd like to mention is the online guide isn't only written by me. I work with a bunch of different contacts throughout Mexico that are feeding me this information: facilitators, realtors, lawyers. So that way people, our customers, or anybody who's watching this know that it's fact checked, right? Like, it's not only like hearsay, it's actual things that are happening. So yeah, we're constantly adding new contacts, new tour guides, new realtors, new lawyers, tax advisors that can help you get an RFC. Yeah, and not just anybody who knows tax law, but people who know foreign tax, like expat tax law, right? When you're not
Yes.
living in your
Yeah.
home country anymore, and what kinds of benefits can you apply for, and things like that. So we do have some of those recommendations too, as well as Mexican accountants, right? So yeah, I mean, and we've added a lot of different contacts, and then we're consistently adding new information about, watch outs and words of caution, and just ways people can avoid surprises and costly mistakes. And I think that's our biggest, honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons we get really, really well reviewed, is because we are constantly updating the online guide. So even if somebody isn't thinking about moving for 2-3 years, it doesn't matter. Like, the information will be relevant in 2 or 3 years because we're consistently updating it.
I had a message on one of our YouTube video we did together 9 months ago. So the comment said, and this would be a good one for you, a good question, right? I think, because we learn a lot from the comments. The comment said, well, I've found out all this information with my own online research, or something along them lines. That's what the comment said. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say it's absolutely not hard for you to find a lot of this information on your own. I 100%, I've never said I have a golden key or a secret that people don't know. No, it's just that this really saves you a lot of time from having to figure out who is saying the truth. Because if you ask one question online, you're going to get answers in 500 different directions, and you're going to be just as confused as you were when you first started asking the question. So this is a single source of information that you know is true, that you know it's fact checked, that you know is accurate, and up to date. And I think that's a big, big, big thing, because let me tell you a horror story. So a couple of them.
We like a horror story. Everyone get comfortable. Mariana's going to tell us a little horror story, guys.
Yeah, so we had a subscriber who reached out to me in a panic. She wasn't a customer. She had, tried getting her residency on her own. She went through the Mexican consulate, got pre-approved, traveled to Mexico. She went to Colima, actually, to do her canje, which is the exchange of your residency stamp for your residency card. Anyway, long story short, when she got to immigration, INM in Colima, the INM agent told her to do something that was fully incorrect. But because it was the immigration agent telling her to do this, she just took it as like, oh, they know better, which I would too, right? That's the authority. Yeah, that's the authority. Well, what ended up happening is, because that immigration told her incorrectly, because that person probably wasn't trained, or that person just didn't know any better, or maybe they just didn't feel like dealing with her, which is very, very much a reality in Mexico, unfortunately, but it is. They ended up canceling her residency. So she had to start the process all over again, go back to the United States, make an appointment with the consulate. And then at that point, it was at a time when there was way too many appointments being scheduled at consulates were overwhelmed. There really wasn't any appointments. So she reached out to me, like begging me to help her find an appointment, because she needed to get back to Mexico right away. We ended up hooking her up with a facilitator who got her an appointment right away. The facilitator was very careful to make sure that, she did the process the right way, and that when she got to immigration, she met with her so that nobody could tell her incorrectly what to do. So that is one horror story. And this happens all too often. Sometimes the people at a land border tell you, oh no, we're just gonna mark you as a tourist, even though if you guys don't know this, if anybody marks you as a tourist and you're a resident in Mexico, that negates your residency. So don't let anybody mark you as a tourist. There are a lot of really good sources of information, but we are very unique in that we package it all together in an easy to follow format.
Easy to
And
follow. That's the key here. Yeah.
yeah, that it's not overwhelming, right? That you're not like, what? What did I just read?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just, they might not even know what the questions are they should be asking.
So as we're talking about these different categories, and maybe just show us what it looks like and how easy is it to use your platform.
Hey, there we go. That was quick. She was prepared. Mariana, you're very prepared. I like that.
I try to be. Yeah, so I want to give everybody an insight into what you get when you buy the online guide, because it's kind of hard to imagine, right? So essentially, you get a full on knowledge base, right, of different categories, from our full directory of contacts to how does healthcare and health insurance work in Mexico, to residency visas, real estate and rentals, cost of living examples from actual cost of living, from actual people. So it's not just like something off of Numbeo. Driving, some of the things, some of the nuances that you need to know about driving in Mexico. For example, we had another subscriber reach out to me and tell me that they got fined because they didn't know that if you drove through Mexico City, you needed to get a special permit. And lo and behold, yeah, they learned the hard way that they needed to get a special permit. Why you should get a driver's license and why it's necessary and why we recommend it and how to go about getting it. Even estate planning, which is something that a lot of people unfortunately don't think about until they have to. And you want to help your family out if in case you're no longer around, something happens to you. You want to make sure that your family doesn't have to go through pain and suffering of having to navigate the Mexican bureaucracy by themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of information in here, and
we're the pets thing. You have a pets. That must be a lot of people I know come down with their pets, and that must be really, really useful.
We think so. I think so. We definitely get asked about it a lot. So I added this category and then, a lot of subcategories in it. Like, for example, what are the pet policies by airline, right? Because if you guys didn't know this, there are Mexico's pet policies, but then the airlines have their own pet policies. So, you have to know this information individually. And how I gathered this information was reaching out to every individual airline that we have here and finding out what their pet policies are. And we also have people that can help you open up a bank account if you're kind of intimidated by the process, because maybe you live in a city outside of Ajijic or Chapala where the bankers don't speak English. So we have facilitators all across Mexico that can, help you, go translate things for you, and just be your intermediary, right, between you and the bank. Yeah, lots of information on taxes. Like, a lot of people don't realize that they can actually, if you're from the United States, you can save a lot of money on taxes in the United States if you move to Mexico and other countries through the foreign earned income exclusion. And that's only for active income. So retiree income does not count. But
how interesting that is. I didn't know that either. That's great. I think I need to get your online guide.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good information in here. And, it's not only for people who are like moving to Mexico next month or in 2 weeks. A lot of our customers buy this online guide years before they actually plan on moving, because one, I keep it updated, and two, it's good to do your research years in advance.
I see this really important one at the bottom, working in Mexico on the left-hand side. Wow, that is going to be very, very useful, because I had zero idea when I first came to Mexico. What was it like to work in Mexico? And I'm sure coming from another country, guys, it's definitely going to any country and working when you're not actually a citizen is a very different experience. And Mexico is no different on that one.
No, not at all. And you need to know what the rules are, and not only for you as an employee, but possibly as an employer. If you want to hire services, you need to know what service people are entitled to.
Absolutely. Yes.
So,
The
you know,
employee law is super important here in Mexico and taken very serious.
yeah.
It's taken very seriously, employment law.
I know we spoke about this last time, Mariana, about how language is such an important aspect of when you're thinking about coming to, using Mexico as an example, come to Mexico.
But yeah, I absolutely agree. Language is important. And you know, that is to say, I don't want to discourage anybody from not moving first and then still learning along the way. I don't let that prohibit you, right, from making the move. But you try to learn at least the most you can before moving to Mexico. And when you're living in Mexico, you have to practice it. You have to continue learning, because you just never know when you're going to need it in an emergency situation. It doesn't even have to be out and grocery shopping. Like, it might be an emergency and you might need to, like, at least ask for help. Or you never know when you might need it to negotiate something or just to advocate for yourself. So I really do recommend learning as much as possible. And I do think that in some places you will get charged a gringo tax if you don't know any Spanish. I have seen this. I've not only experienced it with our customers.
You've heard about it, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
happens. It
it
happens
happens.
if, you know, if people perceive, whether I agree with this or not, I do think that a lot of the Mexican population perceives foreigners as having a higher income, because we do have a higher income for the most part, compared to Mexican nationals. Maybe for you, whoever is watching at home, maybe you feel like your income is very modest, but for a national, you know, whatever north of the border people earn, it's like 3 or 4 times, 5 times, 10 times more than what a national earns. So if they perceive you as having some more money, they may try to charge you more. If you learn to love it for what it is, embrace it for what it is, it will return you a wonderful life tenfold.
Yeah, I agree. I always, like I say, I always give the last word to my guest, Mariana. Thank you so much for coming on. What would you say after talking to all these? I mean, you have thousands of people that you've spoken to, emailed over the past couple of years. What are some of the most important points that, say, the most 5 important points that if you could only give 5 points to someone to help them in the process, 5, that's all you can give. There's a little sentence for each of the points, not to put too much pressure on you, but I didn't tell her in the what we're going to do. But I would say 5 points that would really help someone, even without looking at the guide, but just having a conversation with you. You have a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation. What would them 5 points be that you've got to grasp from all these people that you spoke to over the past 3 years?
Yeah, I can have them. Number one, do your research. Absolutely. Do not, just because there's, like, you know, a famous YouTuber out there putting like videos about Mexico and telling you that, you know, you can do X, Y, Z. You still should do your research beyond that. Even if you come to our website and read a blog post, your research should not end there. You should do your research because your research is very specific to you. Um, Number two, you should really, really figure out, can you afford the move to Mexico? Don't just assume that because you're going to be able to lower your cost of living, that other things can't come up. And I see this mistake happen a lot, especially when it comes to people's medical issues. They don't take that into consideration, and then come to find they can't get private health insurance, which is fine. A lot of people pay out of pocket, but if that's you and you are going to pay out of pocket, save money. Save some money every month, because a medical emergency, a big medical emergency, can really cost you a lot of money out of pocket. So save some money, right? If you're in one of those brackets. 3, turn off the media. Just turn it off. You have to experience Mexico for yourself. Okay, there are pockets of Mexico that I would say absolutely I would not live there, and I don't recommend any of our subscribers even visit or live there. But Mexico is ginormous, people. Like, it's huge, and you can't write off all of Mexico for a few bad apples or a few bad towns, right? It's a beautiful, huge country full of culture, full of rich history, full of amazing people. And I would just say turn off the media and experience it for yourself.
I went for a run today, and almost every single person said hello to me. And I was out there for a long time today running, and I went to this little town, tiny little town. There was like little village, hardly anybody, and everyone said hello. Everyone.
Isn't that amazing though? You never feel alone.
Never feel alone. You never.
Even
and
if
people
you are
remember
alone,
you.
never
And
feel
people
alone.
remember you from the week before. I did the same run as I did the week before, and people are like, "Oh, how was the run last week?"
Oh, that's awesome.
You know,
That's so cool.
I agree with what Mariana. Turn it off, guys. Turn off the media. You got to turn it off. You got to turn it off, because there's so much more what's going on out there compared to what you see on the media. I promise you. I mean, there's that, but anyway, going off a tangent. Point number 4.
Don't be afraid. Like, leave the resort. Go experience the real Mexico. The real Mexico is outside of the resorts, right? And don't be afraid. Like, eat street food. Go visit, a weird cantina. Cantina is just Spanish for like a bar, a very old-timey bar.
Yeah.
Travel, explore the rest of the country. Don't just don't get fixated. I get that like beach people really imagine themselves like throwing themselves on the beach and living the rest of their lives just like hanging out by the beach. But don't limit yourself to only beach places. Explore, because you never know. You might end up going to Wajijic and being like, this is where I was meant to live, right? And I see it all the time. Some people were like, I've lived in Playa del Carmen or Puerto Vallarta for the last 10 years, and I had no idea that the rest of Mexico was so beautiful and charming and colonial. And then they end up moving to Lake Chapala, or they end up moving to Puebla or Mexico City or whatever the case might be. So just travel, I would say. And finally, like my very last point, make friends with locals. I think your experience will be significantly enriched when you talk to your neighbors, when you talk to your panaderia, your panadero, or whoever's selling things on the street. I think make the time. If somebody's trying to talk to you, don't feel like that is I know north of the border that may be strange for a stranger to come up and talk to you, but in Mexico that's completely normal. So embrace it and reciprocate, because you never know who you're going to meet, and it's truly the best experience you'll have is when you actually have locals as part of your community.
I agree with that.
Hopefully, guys, you're going to find this really useful. Great. So if you have a question, as Mariana just said, email her. Her email is going to be in the description of the video, and she'll answer any question and go from there. And if you want to buy it directly through my link, I'll put my affiliate link down below in the description, and then just use my affiliate link to buy it. And that gives me some money that I can go and get some ice creams for my kids.
There you go. I love it.
They'll be happy. I'll be happy because they've had some sugar, and hopefully they'll relax for a little bit. And kids love ice cream. So what better reason to buy Mariana's online guide?
What I could do to further incentivize your audience to buy directly from you as opposed to anywhere else is to give you a coupon code that you can give them, and then they can use it and get a little bit. They can get a discount if you buy from this video using Rich's link in the comment section or in the description. Using this code at checkout, you'll get 10% off the online guide, but only watching this video.
Only for watching this video. Yeah, because this is going to be, you have to get to all the way to the end to get a discount, guys. You can't skip it. But if you want to skip it, skip it.
Mariana, thank you so much. To say, guys, thank you all so much for watching. As usual, please consider subscribing, hit that notification button, and give the video a thumbs up if you fancy it. That's it. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Mariana, thank you so much again. And until the next time.